Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is miahtheking, and I've been reading a book about anti-gravity lately. It's impossible to put down. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Chef RPG, a pixelated RPG about moving to a seaside town and trying to bring back all the popularity and tourists through the power of delicious food in your very own restaurant. Developed and published by World 2 Studio, released in early access and selling for $20. So, what is this game? Well, it's pretty much what I just said. You are a young culinary student at some bigwig cooking university in this big city in the future, far enough in the future that there's androids and flying cars. You got a job at some kind of restaurant, but for some reason I've yet to discover, you chose to flee your job and head off to this small seaside town and take over an old abandoned restaurant. This village used to be a big tourist spot, you see, but it's not anymore, and through your efforts, hopefully, the town will recover. Maybe you just wanted to own your own restaurant and thus came here to get this one and, start your life. Maybe just pretty basic. That'd be my guess. But as of right now, I don't actually know. Now then, let's go into the good and the bad, starting off with the good. So for me, I think the graphics are mostly okay. Honestly, it's just nice to finally see one of these pixelated life/farming games that isn't riddled with pink and purple trees. But seriously, the attention to detail is surprisingly nice, the contrast and the color designs are nice, and overall I like the artistic style they went with here. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, it does have its issues. For instance, I hate the portraits, maybe that's just me. I think they're super freaking ugly and they really need an overhaul. I mean, am I supposed to find any of these people attractive at all in any way, shape, or form? They all look really disfigured and ugly to me, and the quality in the portraits don't do them any justice. It's so bad it might be the sole reason why I would stop playing the game. But everything else looks good enough, so just don't talk to people, I guess. Next up for me is the sound design. It's average, nothing grand, but not awful. The music is perfectly bouncy and uplifting, but also fades into the background fairly well, and it's not obnoxious. The sound effects are sounding the way you'd expect them to sound, depending on what you're doing, and there's no voice acting. Overall, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad, hence it being called average. But there is some ambiance, which I like, and a lot of games forget to add in, though it could use a bit more, considering how bustling the town is when you first get there, and yet you don't really hear bustling town sounds. The next positive point I'd like to talk about is the gameplay. In this game, you play not just as a chef, but as a restaurant owner. Now, those two things are not necessarily always played the same way. As a chef, you pretty much just need to cook and get the ingredients right. But as an owner, you need to control every facet of the business. And this game, in my opinion, does a good job of combining the two. You get to customize your character, and then you get to customize your restaurant, hire your own staff who come with their own skills, purchase your ingredients or acquire them from the wild, create dishes, cook the dishes, and every dish needs you to complete a minigame to cook it. Each cooking accessory has a different minigame, and once you do it the first time, you can then have your guy auto-cook the dish in the future once your character is more familiar with it. You open your restaurant and let your waiter take orders, clean dishes, and serve the food that you cook. There are tons of recipes, cooking accessories, and other requirements you'll need in order to expand your repertoire of satisfaction so that you can provide to your customers. At the end of each day, you get a little summary pop-up that tells you how well you did and the increase or decrease in your stats from your hard work. There's also an affection system, so you can bond with others, and they mentioned something about being able to buy a house, which will hopefully come with further customizations and choices. When you first get there, you have to stay at a hotel, you see, which was also really interesting because it's not just go in there and sleep. You actually get a little room, so that's cool. You can also head out into the wild and hunt animals, harvest random goods you find, but of course there's always the market where you can purchase things if you're feeling especially lazy that day, and of course there's fishing. I hope that there is or will be marriage and offspring, because for me, I love seeing those in games so I can immerse myself fully. For those of you who don't know, I'm a husband and father in real life, so to me, this kind of thing is a must-have for games like this. But basically what I'm saying is the gameplay is pretty good and addictive, and comes with a key feature: player retention. I didn't want to stop playing, as I wanted to find and cook better and more expensive dishes, and I wanted to get those ingredients, and I wanted to continue expanding my restaurant. Sorry about that. I just hope that these portraits get an update, along with a few other things that we'll talk about later. And last, for the positives, is the tutorial. It's okay, I guess. Not awful, but not awesome either. Again, average. It pops in, tells you what you need to do, and pops out. It has little images to help you visualize what it is they're saying, and for the most part you learn what you're doing, but it does leave some information out, and it does feel incomplete at times. I had to go into the controls menu to see how to utilize my tools because the game only told me that I could use them, but not how to use them. So it is lacking in some areas, but for the most part it was fine enough. Alright, so that's all I got to say about the pros. Now we got to go into the cons, but before that, do me a big favor, and if you find this video entertaining or at least informative, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and show your support. Every little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Now then, on to the negatives. I hate the UI. The user interface is needlessly confusing and needlessly complicated. It lacks in a lot of information, it lacks in key bindings and coordination, and it just looks messy and jumbled together. It's a chore every time I need to mash buttons to open and navigate my menus and fumble around to look for what I'm looking for. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it was ugly and annoying, so I wanted to make mention of it. And while we're on the subject, why do games like these always do the same things in terms of questing? Well, why will they not just tell us where to go for a quest on a map? It's so frustrating when they want you to go here or go there, but you're new, so you have no freaking idea where here or there are. I spent a good deal of time going into building after building after building, looking for different things that I was looking for, and I hate it when games do this. It makes it needlessly annoying when you have to go around doing it this way. Next up is the mechanics. I don't really like how a lot of these things work. It's Q to switch your items, and it's in a random order that you don't know. You have a hotbar with 1, 2, and 3, but I don't know what it's for because putting items there doesn't do anything like it does in every other freaking game ever made. Right-click to activate your tool rather than just having it available upon equipping it. There's no sprinting. You can walk away accidentally from conversation because your character doesn't get locked when talking to a person, and escape doesn't get you out of the conversation. And I doesn't open up your inventory. I mean, I could keep going about how awkward, confusing, and annoying a lot of these controls and mechanics are. There's a lot of design choices in terms of the overall mechanics here that just make the game a lot more confusing and frustrating in terms of when you're actually playing it. Like, you gotta have good mechanics. They gotta be smooth, they gotta make sense, and they gotta fit what you're doing. Otherwise, it's going to just turn you off of the game. The next negative point I have is more of a personal preference, but I don't think this game is worth $20. It's early access, it's not finished, it has other issues, and they're charging $20. I mean, I've seen games of similar size and quality selling for $5 cheaper, and I feel like $15 would have been far more appropriate price tag for this unfinished 50% ugly game. And last but not least for the negatives is the game is unstable. Here's a clip of me getting stuck and unable to move. Despite me not being done harvesting and still in the middle of hunting, I was now forced to fast travel back home, although I do like that I have a fast travel to go back home, but regardless, I still was forced to fast travel back home and give up on the whole trip because I got stuck. There was also clipping and frame rate drops, which you might even see in this video. Hell, sometimes nothing happened at all when things were clearly supposed to happen, like a scripted scene, but nothing was happening. Did the game lag? Did it just take its time on moving to the next point? Was it designed like that on purpose? I have no idea. Placing tables in my restaurant only to then see them disappear forever, just stuff like that happening all the time. But nothing really game-breaking, at least so far, but other people have been complaining about stability issues as well. But for me, I noticed just a few glitches here and there, which honestly weren't that bad, but still, I wanted to make mention of it because if these continue to pile on like this, eventually it will get too frustrating to the point of being able to continue playing. Alright, so that's pretty much all I have that I feel are worth mentioning for the pros and the cons. What are my final thoughts? Well, I really love the idea of this game, and there were a lot of moments where I could find myself getting sucked into it for the next few weeks. But the ugly people and the ugly portraits, the glitchy pop in, pop out of stuff, or getting stuck here and there, the awful map which has you getting stopped by every little thing, making it really hard to navigate, to hunt, or move around, and all the other issues it has, I just don't know. The game isn't awful, right? Like, it's not terrible, it's not a piece of crap. It's got a great idea and a great foundation. I just think it needs more work and some more fine-tuning and ironing out. So, I guess I like the game, and I think it's good. I think when it's done, it'll be worth $20 or $25, but I don't think it's currently worth that much. My recommendation would be to wait, wishlist the game, and keep an eye on it. Come back in like 6 months and see if they've made some significant improvements. When they do, this game will end up being a lot of fun and highly addictive and a lot better. But until then, just wait for it. Alright, everybody? Alright, so that's all the time I got for this video. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.